Chaos Uncontrolled Chapter 2, Night of the Blackout. Chuck and Tails had not gone to sleep since the blackout. They had been busy trying to work out what had caused the blue lightning, and so far all they had was that it was an intense pulse of chaos energy.
I have to say, Tails, I'm stumped. I can't think of how this could possibly have happened.
Couldn't it have been just the Chaos Emerald?
We've thought about that, Amy, but nothing about what happened matches with what we know about the Chaos Emeralds.
Then suddenly they heard a knock at the door.
It's midnight. Who could that be?
Don't worry, Master Chris, I'll get it.
Mr. Tanaka gave a small bow and got up to open the door, and in fell an exhausted-looking Sam Speen.
Uncle Sam? What's the matter?
You steal my car?
What? No.
Well, last night someone who looked exactly like you stole my car and tied me up with this.
Sam held out a small yellow device and Tails took it. Tails inspected the object and was shocked to find a stylized symbol of two tails etched into it.
Two tails? Did you make this, buddy?
Sonic peered over Tails' shoulder to get a better look.
No, I've never seen it before.
Wait, Sam, you said that he looked exactly like Tails?
Yeah, the only difference I can think of is he was wearing a backpack. But then again, it was dark and I couldn't see him properly.
So, a weird light messes with Tails' gadgets. Strange blue lightning causes a citywide blackout, and now there's a copy of Tails running around?
Amy looked over at Chuck and Tails for confirmations. Tails shrugged. That was pretty much all they had to go off of.
No doubt Eggman's behind this.
Don't you dare go running out at this time of night.
Ella blocked Sonic from leaving.
But if Eggman's behind this, we need to stop him as soon as possible.
Miss Ella is correct. With the sudden blackout, the city will be in a state of confusion. And while it is possible Dr. Eggman will take advantage of the confusion, it is just as possible he had lost power too. It would be unwise for us to attempt to investigate on so little sleep.
All right, you heard them. We better go to bed. There's no arguing with them when they're like this.
Knuckles watched the blue energy crackle across the city and shut off all the lights within from his place on Angel Island. Even with its distance from Station Square, it was obvious the effect the energy had on the city. Knuckles knew that something that could create a pulse of chaos energy that strong would require an investigation. So for now, he would have to spend some time off Angel Island to see what could possibly have caused it. When the blue lightning hit Eggman's face, it shut down everything. Eggman was left in the dark and silence. The lightning had even affected all his robots. Eggman stood still for a while trying to process what to do next. The backup generator had kicked in and the most vital of systems were up and running. But there would be a lot of work to do to get his base back up and running again. And he was not doing it alone. So his first mission was getting Zico, Bogo, and Bokun back to normal.
Ah, my head.
I feel like a toaster.
Thankfully, the three robots only needed to be rebooted and had basically just experienced the robot version of being knocked unconscious.
Doctor, what happened?
Bokun was rubbing his head in a daze.
I don't know, but whatever it was shut down everything in the base, and I'm going to need you Nickenbots to get to work immediately.
But Doctor, we still have not recovered.
Yeah, have a hornet.
Do you two want to end up in the scrap heap?
Deco and Boko began to panic and rushed to start getting everything rebooted.
Are you going to try and find the thing that caused it?
Yes, Bokun. I've never seen anything like it. That lot of ball of intense energy is something I need on my side.
What do you think it is?
I don't know. Perhaps it's one of the other world's version of the Chaos Emerald. Or maybe it's something else entirely. But as soon as the monitoring equipment is back on, I am going to find out.
Knuckles Wachowski had gotten distracted by the moon. It was half mechanical. Knuckles had been on some very strange worlds, with equally strange moons in his search for the Master Emerald. But this world now be the strangest moon he'd seen, dethroning the shattered rainbow moon that orbited another planet. He'd seen moons with artificial additions before, but nothing like this. Something had happened, and then someone had actually fixed the moon. While I confirmed that he wasn't on Earth anymore, and he had no guesses to where he actually was. Something like this would surely be big news everywhere in the galaxy. Perhaps when he found Tails, they could work it out where they were. And that was exactly his mission, to find his brothers and parents. The Master Emerald was also a concern. Before the light that had brought him here, he had given it to Maddie to look after while he played a game with his brothers. He felt safe in doing so because he trusted the diligent and observant eyes of his adopted parents. And if anything went wrong, he was right there if anything went wrong. He hoped that he could find them quickly. All Knuckles had to go on was the blast of the chaos energy that had shut off the power an hour ago. And all that told him was that Sonic would not be in that exact spot. But Knuckles would not rest until he found that his brothers were safe. And after finding some very Sonic-like skid marks, his search brought him to the outskirts of the city. Knuckles appreciated the distance. There was way too big of a risk of being seen by citizens, and he had no clue to what kind of reaction they would have to him. This area looked abandoned and was littered with robot parts. Some of them looked eerily similar in design to some of Robotnik's. Knuckles shuddered at the thought of the man and quickly reassured himself that the man was gone. He couldn't hurt them anymore.
Dr. Eggman, look!
They had finally gotten all the monitoring equipment active, and the reading that was the most interesting was that the machines had picked up 3 new intense signatures of chaos energy. One was stationary, one was zipping along at high speed, and one right outside of the base.
Are the exterior cameras working?
Yes, Doctor.
Bring it up.
Boko tapped a few buttons and a large screen showed outside of the base.
Is that Knuckles? What's he doing here?
The Kid question was looking through the piles of discarded robot parts and seemed to be inspecting them carefully. A few of them seemed to disturb him for some reason, and after staring at them for a few seconds, he shook his head and stopped looking through the robot parts.
Maybe he is looking for a Chaos Emerald?
He was certainly looking for something, and judging by the way he was stomping around, he wasn't having any luck.
Wait a minute.
Now that Knuckles was closer to the camera, Eggman was able to get a better look, and he started to notice some oddities. He had a slightly buffer field than he remembered, and his general facial structure seemed off. He still looked recognizable as Knuckles, but there were definitely differences. And there was colored threads hanging among his dreadlocks like quills, and that also seemed more dense and thick than he remembered. Eggman squinted at the screen. Were those colored threads friendship bracelets? The Knuckles he knew would never probably. Eggman didn't know them that well, but it didn't seem like something Knuckles would do.
That's not the Knucklehead we know. That must be the one from the other world. That would explain the unusually high levels of chaos energy. Although, I've hardly ever seen a living being with such a high level of chaos energy before.
Eggman's brain started to fill with plans. His original intent of his mission was to find a version of the Sonic crew that would have the same goals as him. But this was Knuckles, and if he is anything like the one he knew, it would be a breeze to convince him over to his side. It would just take a little acting.
You two, keep monitoring the chaos energy signatures. And Boku, I want you to go investigate the stationary one. If they are also alternative versions of who we know, I want them to be on our side.
You got it, boss.
Looks like this could be a big break for Eggman. Rouge was having Darwin towed past when the power went out.
Darn, I was rather enjoying myself. Okay, everyone, stay calm. I'm sure they'll be able to get the power back soon.
Topaz had gotten a torch out and was beginning to direct people in the darkness. Rouge could still see well in the darkness, and by her judgment, the people were mostly shaken and confused, and the lightning hasn't caused any more problems.
Any ideas of what could have caused it?
Not a clue. I've never seen anything like that, not even on my world.
Gun will have to look into this. Who knows what else that thing that caused this can do?
What Rouge was about to say was interrupted by the sound of tires screeching and a car spinning out. Rouge and Topaz ran out to help whoever was in the car.
Wait, isn't that Sam's car?
But the person who got out of the car wasn't Sam, but instead Tails.
Sonic? Knuckles? Mom? Dad? Are you there? He's calling for his parents?
Rouge had never heard Tails call out for his parents before, and why was he using Sam's car and not the ex-tornado?
Hey Tails, long time no see.
Tails jumped at Rouge's voice, and she was able to see a surprisingly high-tech looking backpack sitting squarely on his shoulders.
Hi. I'm sorry, but I've never seen you before.
Now that was interesting. Not only did Tails not recognize them, he also sounded different too. And it was pretty suspicious that he was acting like this right after the blue lightning knocked out the power.
I'm so sorry, kid. I must have been mistaken. I'm Rouge.
Well, I am Tails, he got that right. But that's probably easy to guess.
Rouge was very curious about this fox who seemed to be another version of Tails.
Well, Tails, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Hold on, Rouge. What if he's got something to do with that lightning?
This adorable little guy? You don't have anything to do with this, do you, hon?
Rouge could see the unfamiliar Tails was starting to shift uncomfortably, and Rouge was certain he knew something about it.
No?
Look at him, he's clearly lying.
Now calm down, Topaz. I'm sure he'll be more than willing to tell us all about what he knows. Won't you?
Rouge could see the unfamiliar. Tails was looking around, possibly for an escape, and fiddling with a device in his hand. Rouge and Topaz could not have predicted what happened next. Multiple green glitchy effects came from the device, and where each of them landed, a perfect copy of Tails formed, performing basic actions, like waving, hovering just above the ground, or calling out to them.
Holograms?
Topaz waved her hand through one of them, and it glitched away. A few seconds later, the rest of them followed suit. The unfamiliar Tails had used the confusion of the holograms to escape, and was nowhere to be.
Well, that's one smart kid. He could even make a good spy.
Sonic Wachowski was practiced in hiding. He had spent 10 years doing it, after all. He had run away from the location where he had unleashed his power. It was giving him uncomfortable memories of being discovered last time.
Okay, Sonic, you panicked and caused a huge blackout. Again. But it's fine, right? You just need to point out what happened to the moon.
Sonic's stressed out rambling was interrupted by him catching sight of the moon for the first time. Sonic could do nothing but stare.
Okay. Not Earth. Got it.
Sonic! Sonic! I got a message for you!
Sonic was startled when he heard a shrill voice he didn't know calling out for him. And when he turned, he saw a small, imp-like creature with a rocket booster strapped to its back, and a bag slung over his shoulder.
Say, you look different! The doctor was right. You are from a different universe.
The creature seemed to be studying him carefully. A different universe? That would explain some things.
Speaking of the doctor, he's got a message for you. Hey, that's totally unfair. You can't do that.
The little creature started to throw a tantrum and turned the monitor back on, which Sonic immediately turned off again.
Stop it!
Sonic was getting very entertained by this back and forth between him and the stranger, and pressed the button again.
I'm trying to give you a message. Why won't you let me show it to you?
The strange little creature was waving his arms around wildly and yelling at Sonic with his shrill voice.
Because that guy's like a classic villain. There's no way I'm going to work with him.
Oh, that's it. I'm telling on you. Then you'll be sorry.
Wait, you're telling on me to who exactly?
Yeah, to Dr. Eggman. You're going to regret this.
The imp-like creature flew off into the sky with a mischievous giggle.
Eggman?
Sonic's excitement from the back and forth game faded. Surely Robotnik couldn't be here. He just couldn't. Eggman watched this other version of Knuckles carefully inspect some cracks in a wall that had come from a battle a few weeks ago. Other Knuckles hadn't realized he was here yet. Eggman grinned. Tricking the Knuckles he knew was something he was quite experienced in, so it probably wouldn't take much to manipulate this one. After a few breaths to ready himself, Eggman took a step forward. The loud punch of his shoes against the debris covering the ground alerted the other Knuckles to his presence, who whipped his head around in Eggman's direction and began to approach him.
You, stranger, who is standing in the dark, I have noticed your attempt to sneak on me. Do not attempt to hide yourself. Your heavy footsteps already betrayed your location.
Eggman was thrown for a loop. Other Knuckles had a different accent, as Hortz was a lot deeper than the Knuckles he was familiar with. Hopefully, he was still just as gullible.
Please, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
You did no such thing. I've seen far scarier than one such as yourself.
Other Knuckles seemed like he was being strung along successfully.
That's a relief to hear because I need your help.
You need help?
And there it was, hook, line, and sinker.
Yes. You know someone called Sonic, don't you?
Other Knuckles' entire stance changed. His expression changed to one of suspicion, and Eggman swore that an electric static filled the air.
Yes, I do.
I saw him earlier, and when I told him that he is on a entirely different world, he laughed and said that was wonderful.
Another world? What one? I do not recognize this planet.
Eggman had to think for a moment. He hadn't expected a question like that.
This is Earth.
You lie.
Other Knuckles sounded so certain. At first, Eggman had no idea how to recover from this. But then he remembered that he was from an entirely different universe that was unconnected to this one. Maybe he hadn't been to his universe's Earth. Now, this had to turn into an opportunity to get more information.
I'm not! What makes you think I am?
Earth's moon does not look like that.
Oh, I get it now. You're thinking of world as planet. I mean it as universe.
Different universe. I see.
Oh, good. It looked like the situation was back under control.
Now that that's cleared up, back to Sonic. I told him all about him being in a different universe, and he laughed in my face when I suggested helping him work out a way to get back to his world. He said that he was going to stay here as long as he wanted, and if Knuckles and the others wanted to go home sooner, it was tough luck. You know how selfish and reckless he is. He doesn't care about how you and the others are feeling. All he wants is the thrill of the next adventure.
Eggman played to the role of worried messenger perfectly, if you asked him, and it appeared to be working. Other Knuckles was quivering with rage, and Eggman could hear him growling. Perfect.
Now I need to,
And in a second, everything changed. Other Knuckles' eyes changed from an amethyst purple to a glowing red, and his quills flowed with a bright red energy. Eggman didn't get long to contemplate any of this before the now glowing echidna leapt at him and pinned him to the wall with one hand. The other hand was filled with red electricity that was reminiscent of the blue version that had knocked out the power.
You speak blasphemy. You clearly know nothing of me or the elder of my younger brothers.
Uh-oh. Other Knuckles just called his Sonic brother. That could be bad for Eggman after what he just said.
Sonic may be reckless and act before he thinks, but uncaring and selfish, he is not. His home and family mean more to him than anything. And I know for a fact my brother is upset. So tell me where you saw him.
When the other Knuckles asked Eggman about where Sonic was, his grip on Eggman tightened, and his other fist raised threateningly.
All right, you got me. Aside from the whole different universe thing, I made it all up. I don't even know if your Sonic is here. Just calm down and leave me alone.
At Eggman's confession, other Knuckles looked almost disgusted at him.
You are a deceiver and a coward and a waste of my time. I must find the rest of my tribe. And if you attempt to harm them or sully their honor, I will not take it lightly.
Eggman was too nervous at the moment to process the information he'd just been provided with, and watched in silence as the red glow faded and the other Knuckles disappeared into the night. None of it had gone to plan, and Eggman might have just made a very dangerous enemy.